The United States ambassador to the United Nations, Nikki Haley, laid out what the Trump administration claims is irrefutable evidence that Iran has deliberately violated its international obligations and has tried and failed to cover up these violations. Haley accuses Iran of blatant violation of UN Security Council obligations designed to rein in its missile activity. The ambassador has called on the UN Security Council to take a tougher stance towards Iran, accusing it of making illegal arms deal in Yemen, Lebanon and Syria. Meanwhile, the Iranian administration has rejected Nikki Haley's accusation. It claims that the accusation is intended to divert attention from the devastating war in Yemen being led by US key ally Saudi Arabia. Amid the outcry over Donald Trump's decision to recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, U.S. Vice President Mike Pence's visit to the country has been delayed. Pence's office confirmed that he will now leave Washington on Tuesday, will stop in Egypt for a brief visit before arriving in Israel for a multi-day visit. He was originally scheduled to arrive in Israel on Sunday. The Palestinian and religious leaders have refused to meet U.S. Vice President Mike Pence during his visit. The foreign minister has said that last week that the leadership had decided there would be no formal communication with U.S. officials in the wake of Trump's Jerusalem decision. In retaliation for the Trump administration's decision to recognize Jerusalem as Israel's capital, Islamic State has threatened attacks on the American soil. In a message on one of its accounts on the Telegram instant messaging service titled "Wait for Us" and ISIS in Manhattan, ISIS said that it would carry out operations and showed images of New York's Times Square and what appeared to be an explosive bomb belt and detonator. Amid the ongoing war of words between United States and North Korea, Pyongyang has now warned that it will take merciless self-defensive measures if the U.S. enforces a naval blockade. North's foreign ministry spokesperson said that a naval blockade would be a wanton violation of the country's sovereignty and dignity, adding that North Korea was a responsible nuclear power. Chinese President Xi Jinping on Thursday said that war must not be allowed to break out on the Korean peninsula. Xi made the comments to visiting South Korean President Moon Jae-in just days after U.S. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson offered to begin direct talks with North Korea without preconditions. Walt Disney has agreed to buy film, television and international businesses from Rupert Murdoch's 21st Century Fox Inc. for $52.4 billion in stocks. Fox assets that will be sold to Disney include the 20th Century Fox movie and cable networks. Disney will also assume about $13.7 billion of net debt of 21st Century Fox. Chief Executive of Disney is set to extend his tenure through the end of 2021 to oversee the integration. The U.S. Federal Communications Commission voted along party lines to repeal landmark 2015 rules aimed at ensuring a free and open internet. This sets up a court fight over a move that could recast the digital landscape. FCC says the move will protect consumers at far less cost through investment than the prior rigid and wide-ranging utility rules. 4 teenagers were killed and 19 injured after a train smashed into a school bus outside the town of Popinghen in southern France. The bus, which was carrying teenagers aged between 13 and 17 from a secondary school, was split in two by the force of the crash. Two nephews of Venezuela's First Lady were sentenced to 18 years in prison by a U.S. court for drug trafficking. The two men were arrested in Haiti in November 2015 in a U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration sting operation. Prosecutors had stated that they tried to make $20 million through drug trafficking to help keep their family in power. Hundreds of people in London marched in near silence through the streets of West London to honour those who died in the Grenfell Tower fire. Friends and relatives of the victims also met firefighters who tackled the blaze. The disaster that killed 71 people had profoundly shook the nation and fueled a debate over why safety concerns voiced by Tar residents before the fire had been ignored. Britain has expressed grave concerns over the arrest of two Reuters journalists by Myanmar government. Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson said that the country is committed to freedom of speech and people's ability to report the facts and bring into the public domain. What is happening in Rakhine State is important and needs to be covered. A total of 96 African migrants were detained after their boat was intercepted by the Libyan Coast Guard while trying to reach Europe. The migrants, who are mostly from Eritrea, will be sent to Tariq al-Sika detention center in Tripoli, where hundreds of other migrants are being held. News from Peru now. The right-wing opposition party has demanded the president's resignation of Pedro Pablo. This comes after Brazilian builder Odebrecht reportedly transferred $4.8 million to the companies linked to the president. The opposition wants Vice President Martin Vizcarra to replace. Special Action Group of the Counter-Terrorism and Transnational Crimes Unit has arrested 3 suspected members, including one of the founding members of the new Jamaat-ul Mujahideen Bangladesh from Dhaka. The new outfit is known to be working in affiliation with Islamic State and receiving material support such as detonators smuggled into the northern part of Bangladesh bordering with India. A United Nations mediator said that the round of Syria peace talks that ended on Thursday was a big missed opportunity, adding that only continued dialogue would bring peace to the country. He voiced mild disappointment with the Syrian opposition after they arrived in Switzerland, ruling out any future role for Assad. Iraq has hanged 38 terrorists allegedly belonging to terror groups Islamic State and Al-Qaeda on terrorism charges in the city of Nasiriyah. It is the largest number of executions in a single day since September 25th, when 42 people were put to death in the same prison. Amnesty International has voiced repeated concerns about the use of death penalty in Iraq, which it ranks as one of the world's top executioners after China, Iran and Saudi Arabia. Moving on to national stories, the exit poll results of the Gujarat and Himachal Pradesh Assembly elections are likely to set the course of the winter session of Parliament beginning today. Several agendas are lined up for the shortest winter session of Parliament in nearly 2 decades that begins today. The long list of agenda includes 25 bills for consideration and passing, 14 bills for introduction, consideration and passing, and 1 bill for withdrawal. Embattled Indian liquor tycoon Vijay Mallya is back in a UK court as his extradition hearing resumed. Interestingly, Mallya's defence has now turned focus on the poor condition of Indian jails. His defence fielded a UK-based prison service expert to claim that jails in India are overcrowded with poor hygiene as the defence and prosecution completed submission of all the evidence in the extradition trial. Chief Minister of Indian State of Tamil Nadu, E. Palani-Swamy, and his deputy O. Paneerselvam campaigned for R.K. Nagar by-polls. These by-polls are a matter of prestige for the ruling AIDMK government. Late AIDMK party chief J. Jayalalitha launched her campaign rallies from R.K. Nagar in 2015 and 16. Back in November, a truce was reached between Palani-Swamy and Paneerselvam. AIDMK had split into 2 factions under these leaders after Jayalalitha's demise. Shifting focus to some news from the world of entertainment. Jitesh Singh Jio from Lucknow was declared the winner of the 2017 Mr. India pageant held on Thursday. Bollywood actor Kangana Ranaut felicitated the winners. In a first, the 24th Annual Screen Actors Guild Awards will be presented entirely by women. The organizers also announced Kristen Bell as the first ever host of the award ceremony. NASA and Disney are reportedly planning a special screening of Star Wars: The Last Jedi for astronauts aboard the International Space Station orbiting Earth 400 kilometers away. Hollywood film Gravity was previously screened aboard ISS. Now, Oprah Winfrey will be honoured with the Cecil de Bemel Award at the 75th Annual Golden Globe Awards on January 7th. The Lifetime Achievement Award presented by the Hollywood Foreign Press Association will be presented to Winfrey for making an incredible impact on the entertainment world. But before that match at the iconic Waka Stadium commenced, a spot-fixing attempt by two Indian bookmakers has come to light. An investigation by English media outlet The Sun exposed the betting racket, where the bookmakers are said to have asked for £140,000 to offer details of rigged periods of play in the third test of the Ashes series. Cricket Australia has vowed full compliance to an investigation that the International Cricket Council wishes to carry. The ICC itself has said that there is no evidence to suggest any fixing attempts were made for the ongoing match at Perth. Moving to badminton now, India's PV Sindhu has booked her place in the last four of the World Super Series finals in Dubai with a thumping win against Japan's Sayaka Sato. The world number 3 opened the competition after a tight three-game affair against China's Qibing Zhao against Sato. The World Championship silver medalist put in a dominant display and raced away to a 21-13, 21-12 win in just 36 minutes. She will now face already qualified Akane Yamaguchi of Japan on Friday in a match that will decide who wins the group. International Hockey Federation President Narinder Batra has been elected as the new president of the Indian Olympic Association. He won the election for the president against former IOA treasurer Anil Khanna. But the election was a mere formality, with Khanna having announced his decision to back Batra after the last date of withdrawal. It marks a new beginning for the IOA, which has been in free fall ever since it was suspended by the International Olympic Committee in 2012 and then restated in 2014. However, the results of the election will have to pass the scrutiny of the courts.